So, I have a new yarn to talk about. Ugh. For some reason today, this is like the first time, and I'm super nervous again. I don't know what's going on. I have a new yarn to talk about. It's new to me. I saw this reviewed on a crochet video. I will tag it. She was reviewing a bunch of Lion Brand, and a lot of people are either looking for things that are of good value, or most people are working in their stash. I was a sucker for a good value because Joann's had a sale. So I picked up this Pima Cotton by Lion Brand, and look at the tag design. This is very un-Lion Brand. So very exciting. This retails for $6 for 100 grams, which is just so great. You get 186 yards for 100 grams, and it's Aran weight. So this is gonna knit up fast, is what I'm thinking. This is the color Spice. And is it showing up? Yeah, this is pretty true to color here. It's a very warm, fallish color, but in a cotton, which is great because sometimes I feel like cottons have the tendency to be they lack depth. I think it's just because people think it's gonna be a summer yarn, so a lot of the times the colors are pastel, and I really love that this is such a deep, rich color for a cotton. I'm going to show you some properties of the yarn. I'm going to switch to a different view and we can chit chat about it. Okay, so like with a lot of commercial brands, this yarn comes in this, I don't know what it's called. Is it a hank? No. It's not a ball. It's like a yarn loaf. I would love if you know the technical term. Please let me know in the comments below. But I kind of really like these because although you don't get the winding, I feel like they're pretty stable. Like when you're pulling yarn off of it, it doesn't fall apart on you. It comes like this, you just pull the band off and you go. Here is what the yarn looks like. And this is a very, as we discussed before with cotton, it's going to be a plied yarn because, it's going to have multiple strands. If I untwist it a little bit, you can see we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 strands twisted all around each other there. And it's a pretty high twist, which means you're gonna have good stitch definition in this one. So this is the project that I'm working on. This is the Meg by Junko Okamoto. I decided that I wanted to knit it out of cotton because I wanted it to be wearable all year long for me here in Southern California. The trick was, since I've told you already, this is an Aran weight yarn, which it was kind of tricky for me because I started knitting with Joann's, or Michael's yarn, but I had no idea what these numbers meant. And then when you get into more hand-dyed yarn or yarn from a local yarn shop, then you start to learn the scale of fingering, sport, DK, whatever. Then I would go back to a place like Joann's and have no idea, what does a 4 mean? But here I looked this one up on the Lion Brand website and double checked against what people were finding in Ravelry, and everyone is of a consensus that this means that it's an Aran weight. So because I was knitting this in cotton, I was afraid that it was going to stretch way too far. So I decided, and looking at other people's patterns on Ravelry, they, a lot of the cotton ones pulled really far and like all the stitches became like really like this. So I decided that I was gonna do this Aran weight on a smaller needle to get the correct gauge for a DK, which I'm realizing now. I did do a swatch, I just ripped it out and I didn't show you guys because I didn't think I was going to do this, because I did come to the conclusion of like what this needed to be as far as what my needle size needed to be and if this was going to work out, but I just didn't think I was going to do this review, so I didn't save it. Anyway, so what you can see here is this beautiful, like here's the cable running through it, very clearly defined stitches in your knitting when you knit with this. And then the other thing to factor in is that, you know, it's going to expand long ways. Not usually in blocking does it expand widthwise, but it will get longer. So currently this is feeling a little tight on the body. Once I separate for the sleeves, I'll show you what it looks like unblocked on me. So it's feeling a little bit tight here, but when it blocks out, because it's cotton, it's gonna stretch this way. And you know, all of this is gonna open up. So I'm feeling really good about that, but I just wanted to show you like how beautiful this yarn keeps the stitches. Now, in the pattern here, I've made a mistake. So I'm gonna have to drop, I'm gonna try, you know, with all of this work here, I'm gonna try not to have to rip this out. I'm going to attempt to drop down all of these stitches. This should be a purl instead of making this four knit stitch band. It was supposed to look just like this and I messed it up. I don't know, I didn't read it right or something. So I'm gonna try to drop down and fix this whole row, see how that goes before I give up on all of this work. But that's where we are currently with this. But I just wanted to show you like how beautiful it maintains these stitches. And if I wasn't knitting it so, and I will say, I'm knitting this tighter than the gauge that they request, but it is not hard on the hands. It's still going very smoothly. And texture-wise, this is such a soft yarn. It's unbelievable. It's such a joy to work with. It's slick, it's soft, it's smooth. It's got a little bit of springiness to it. And beautiful stitch definition. Oof. Okay, so this is the stitch that I've messed up. So I'm gonna drop back and see how it goes. Okay, hey guys, I'm checking in again on the Meg sweater now that I've separated for the sleeves. We're talking about this Lion Brand Pima Cotton. It's the same pattern in the back. And there is a front and a back to it, but there were no short rows or anything like that, so it's reversible for now. Like I can't think of anything about it that's gonna make it a distinguished front and back. I think I was able to show you that I messed up the pattern, and this section here I had 4 knit stitches in a row, and that's not what the pattern is. So I had to drop back, and basically if I didn't want to lose all this work, I had to fix those columns individually to get back on the pattern. And I did. Right here, I seem to have messed up something. I think I'm like 1 off. I don't think it's gonna block out, but I also don't think it's gonna bother me, because in the great scheme of things, if I back up, you know, this is more what you're looking at, so I'm not really worried about it. And since I told you that it seems like it's reversible, it says there's a back and a front, but to date, there hasn't been anything about the pattern that makes me think one is a true back. You know, there's no short rows or anything like that. So if the other side is better, I might flip it around and use the side that doesn't have this one little as the front. But also, you know, it's handmade, so I'm okay with these kinds of things. I'm interested to see how this sleeve is going to resolve itself. It's come down to this severe kind of point to the elbow, which is not a sleeve shape I've made before. So I'm interested to see how that's gonna go. But the yarn itself is, you know, holding these stitches so well. I mean, look at how beautiful that is. It's just gorgeous. What the interesting thing that I'm gonna show you, if I'm gonna switch to a different view, so I'll show you that I haven't really cracked the code on what the best way to switch balls. So, you know, when I'm joining a new ball, I'm just not quite sure about which join is the best. So I've woven in my ends while I'm knitting for one, and I'll show you what that looked like. And then for the other, I did a Russian join. I don't know. I'm not sure if they're gonna block out well, and if, you know, we'll see which one blocks out better, but both of them I feel are a bit iffy. And I'm not sure if I should just try one where I'm weaving in the ends. And you may say to yourself, why would you do multiple ones like this? And I really just want to see what's going to be the best. I mean, they're all going to hold well, but I am kind of concerned about what's going to work out. So this is 3 balls so far. I don't know if anybody else does this when you try on stuff, but I love to try them on with yoga pants so that I can stuff the working ball in the pants and I don't have it flailing around. But anyways, that's my yoga pants / ball holder. But so this is 3 so far. This is the 3rd ball that I'm working on. So I've done 2 joins. So the 3rd join, I'm gonna try to just do normal, and I'll weave the end in at the end, and we'll see how that goes. I only have 5 balls total. I am a little concerned that I'm gonna have to play yarn chicken, so I might end up going and doing the sleeves next, and then just seeing whatever else I have left to do the body, which is pretty standard for me. Cause I don't know, I don't think I want to have to wait to buy another ball. And again, as we've discussed many times, I have a short torso, so I'm okay with the idea that it might be on the shorter side. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with the repeat though, because once you get into this, like, you have to make it all the way through. You know, if I start another one, this is the end of the 2nd one. If I do a 3rd one, I have to make it all the way through the 3rd one. You can't just stop halfway through, or else you have to figure some extra things out. So that's something for me to consider here while I'm playing yarn chicken. So that maybe I should compromise on the sleeves then, just to make sure that I leave enough for the body. I'm not sure. I have to work on that. But that doesn't have anything to do with how the yarn is performing. That merely has to do with the way I planned out this project. Because I found the pattern after I bought the yarn. So it's not like I bought the right amount exactly for this pattern. And as we discussed before, I am using an Aran weight yarn on a DK weight sweater. So I don't know that if that means I'm gonna use more yarn, but I think that it is because I'm doing it like tighter. I guess that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn. Other than that, I don't know. Beautiful. It's got good drape, even though it's kind of dense, and it's not super heavy yet, but you know, I'm only done with half of the sweater. So we'll see what I think of the weight in the end. I just like pressing on it because it's got like a good squish factor, a good spring to it. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to say was, as far as splitting, because I know that cotton yarns kind of have a bad rap for splitting. This one is not very splitty. Because I've shown you before with this, when I did the overhead, and I might show you again, it's got a pretty high twist. When I untwisted it, you saw like how many revolutions I had to twist to get it to separate so I could tell you how many strings there were. Well, because of that kind of high twist, it stays pretty intact. I think if you knit with super sharp, Marika style, haya sharps, you might be able to split this yarn over and over again. But I tend to like to knit with the Chiagu bamboos, which to me are sharp, but they're just the sharper bamboo needles that I've found, because my others are Leica's, and then I also have a set of knit picks, and they are pretty blunt. So they don't split yarn at all. Like, in fact, it's very difficult sometimes to grab the yarn. But with the bamboo Chiagus, I feel like they haven't been splitting it too much. Sometimes I get a little crazy, and it does split, like in when I'm doing a center decrease or something like that, because you're pulling one yarn over the other. Like I could split it then, but it's not a deal breaker for me yet. I think that is it for the update currently. What was I going to show you? What was I going to show you? I was going to show you... Oh, okay. So I will take this off and show you the joins. If it proves fruitful content. If it doesn't look like you can see anything, you won't see the joins. Okay, so here we are. This is my first, right here is my first place where I changed yarns. It's not too visible, I think. And if you run your hand over it, it's just a bit thicker. In this, I did the technique where you weave in your ends as you go, where you're basically catching, it's a bit like catching your floats, so that I can just chop this end off and then chop this end off. And because I've had so many stitches here where I caught it, I shouldn't have a problem with it pulling out. So that's one version. Let's see if I can find the other one. I tried to make sure that I was changing balls on the sleeves or on the side body so that I wouldn't be trying to do it here in the center on that first one, because I knew that I would be weaving in. Now, the other one, good golly, Miss Molly. Okay, so because it's a Russian join, I cut the ends off so it's harder to find it. But here it is. So right here in this area is the other join. Now, because it's in the middle of the pattern, you can't really feel it at all. Here's the other end where it's just sticking out, and I could chop that off. The issue is this one, I noticed, because you are taking one end of the ball Because in the Russian join, what you do is weave in one end of the yarn through the center core of your yarn. So you basically like take, I don't have an end on this one, but if you were to take the end, put a needle in it, thread it through the end of the cord, cut it off, take the other yarn, wrap it around here, thread it back through and go the other way. There are tons of examples. Sorry, that was so bad. But because of that, it kind of like doubles up the width of the yarn because you're forcing the yarn through itself. So in that section, you've got a piece of yarn that's double. Because of that, oh my God, these dogs. As you heard, I had a bit of an interruption, so let's just sit and watch me finish up this project for a little bit while I explain the point I was trying to make in the last section. Basically, I think that the Russian join, which is usually pretty suitable for cottons, because you pull it through the core of itself, it doubles up the width of the yarn, and I think that if you were knitting it straight stockinette, it would make a bulge in the yarn. I kind of hid it because I did it during that pattern section, but I really wouldn't recommend it for this yarn. One, once you try to thread through the center core, the 4 strands split really aggressively. So it just never feels like it really catches in there, and then also it doubles up the thickness of an already thick yarn, so I just wouldn't advise doing that. I've actually decided that the weaving in the ends technique is the one I'm going to go with for the rest of the pattern. So I don't try where you just join and then weave in at the end for the rest of the project. I just weave in as I go. Meg sweater in the Lion Brand Pima Cotton. My house is kind of a nightmare to film in because these yellow walls always make everything look crazy, but it's a rental. I'm unwilling to paint, so here we are. Anyways, finished sleeve, love it, love the finished sleeve. Here's another one, just like the first one. This is not washed and blocked yet, and I'm doing this recap before I wash and block it because I'm gonna do something that I do not suggest anybody do, but we'll get to see the results. I'm gonna wash this in the washing machine because I would like to shrink it. It's 100% Pima cotton. 100% cotton is guaranteed to shrink if you put any sort of warmth into the water, and that's what I'm counting on. It's not an issue with the pattern, and it's not one thing, the pattern is one size, so it's not like I could have changed anything really to fit it to me differently. I just kind of want it to be a little bit snugger, a little bit less long, a little bit tighter, just a little bit. So I think I'm gonna try to shrink it. I'm not too ate up if anything happens, and I don't think it'll shrink to the point of being unwearable, but we're gonna see. So thinking about how this yarn worked out, now that we have a finished project, some things to evaluate. I felt like, one, since it's cotton, this was very drying on the hands. So if you knit with it, lotion up, put a good balm on, because it just sucks the moisture out of your hands immediately. It's not unusual with cottons, but something to keep in mind. As we discussed previously, super soft, very kind of like nice hand feel. but it does cause that a bit of dryness. It is weighty without being too warm, which is good for me. I enjoy things like that. Price point's great, $6 a ball. My idea that I was gonna knit a DK sweater with this Aran weight yarn in order to give it more structure and stability, I think it worked out, but again, the reason why I'm going to shrink it is because I just do not want it to grow any. I don't want it to be any longer. I prefer it to be a little bit smaller. Just because I feel like I'm swimming in it a little bit. 1 second, I'll move you back. You can see how long it is. So this is how long it is. You know how long the sleeves are. And there, now it's even. So I just think this is a little bit long for me, proportionally. It's not, it's a little wide, it's a little long, I look a little frumpy, so I'm just hoping to shrink it. Every now and then, in the course of knitting with this yarn, this thing would happen at the factory or wherever. They tried to kind of knot part of the yarn together, but that can be annoying to some people, so I'm just letting you know that that happens at some point in the yarns. Of the 5 balls I knit with, it only happened once, but it was a situation where I was glad I didn't encounter it during this section, because it, you know, could get a little gnarly. It happened in, I made sure it happened in the stockinette portion so that it didn't come to the front, or it's not poking through one of the yarn overs or anything like that. The only other thing is, I wonder if over time this is gonna start pilling. It's just that it's so soft, and that sometimes that happens with cottons. So I am not sure. We're gonna see what happens once I wash it. I think through the course of this, you could probably tell, I do really like this yarn. I think it's great. I think it's great value, great hand feel, great color. At least this color was great. The selection of colors, at least they were a little bit more, they had more depth to them, which I talked about before. You know, I greatly recommend it for someone like Marika, who is a cashmere enthusiast and just wants things to be super soft. I don't think it's gonna be good for anything that you want structure in your garments. It's definitely better to do something boxier, and it's the fact that it's a heavier weight is always nice to make your project go faster. So I hope you've enjoyed watching the process of this one coming together. I took a while to make this one. It felt, because I had to wait for the yarn, it felt like I was nervous that this would seem very disjointed, and maybe I've gone over the same things multiple times now. But like I said in the beginning, I kind of already knew, because I had already started, I knew I liked this yarn, and then I just decided to take you guys along with me while I finished the project. So not really a lot of revelation here at the end, but there it is. It's finished. So I'm gonna wash it. I don't think I'm gonna dry it. I'm not insane, but I am gonna wash it and see what happens. I'll lay it out to dry, and I'll put it on one more time for you after I've done that. So pray for me. this is the final check-in. I washed and blocked this sweater, and I actually put it in the washing machine, which is sacrilege. And I washed it on the delicate cycle, and then I put it in the dryer after it kind of laid out for a little while. I gave it a day, and then it was still kind of wet, so I went ahead and put it in the dryer on permanent press, and there's no appreciable difference. It did not seem to matter. Now, it's still pretty long. I would probably always end up wearing it like this. The sleeves, I actually think they got longer despite the fact that I put it in the dryer, just ever so much. But hopefully it, putting it in the dryer made it not get too long, because I was a little bit afraid that it would grow to extreme lengths. So yeah, no big issues from being in the dryer. It got a little bit, ever so slightly, and sorry, that totally got blown out there, but it got ever so slightly more fuzzy, but not so much that I have any complaints. So there you go. If you are not the most careful person and you accidentally put it in the dryer, you could still be okay. I didn't wash it on extreme heat though, so just keep that in mind. In general, all in all, great yarn, would suggest. Love the pattern. A little bit, the size range is limiting, but you could add extra length in or extra width in the sides, or go up some needle sizes to make it larger if you needed to. So that's a little bit disappointing, but in general, in love with the piece. Okay, thanks guys. Let me know in the comments if you think you would knit with this yarn, or what do you think a good project for an Aran weight cotton would be, because I am trying to think of like what other patterns these yarns could be useful for when I suggest them. So let me know. All right, thanks. Bye guys.